My name is Hannah Beckwith and this is my presentation for ED2093 Assessment 3 Part A, How to Use Manipulatives Productively and Equitably when Teaching Geometry and Measurement. The focus of this teaching lesson is 2D and 3D shapes. Two-dimensional or 2D shapes can be described as shapes which lie on a plane. Their two dimensions are their length and their width. 2D shapes include squares, circles, rectangles and triangles. Three-dimensional shapes or 3D shapes can be described as shapes which occupy space. Their three dimensions are length, width and depth. 3D shapes include cubes, spheres, cones and cylinders. The lesson in my presentation links to the Australian Curriculum Content Descriptor in the Foundation Year for Measurement and Geometry, SHAPE. The descriptor is sort, describe and name familiar two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional objects in the environment. The learning outcomes for this lesson will be as follows. It is expected that after this lesson, students will be able to explore, identify and describe 2D and 3D shapes and objects. Use a range of manipulatives to explore these shapes and objects. And students will recognise shapes within their environment. This lesson in this presentation is a student-based lesson which sees the students learning through exploration and experience. It will use a learner-centred approach with elements of inquiry learning and guided discovery. The lesson will begin with students sitting on the mat. There will be a whole class discussion about shapes. I will begin by asking students to tell me something about shapes that they know. I will question them further to see if any of the students can explain features of the shapes we are discussing, such as how many sides they have. I will encourage the students to look around the room and share with the class some different shapes they can see, such as the window is a square, the door is a rectangle, or the light is a circle. I will then use a range of flashcards to check students for understanding. Once the whole class discussion is complete, I will invite the students to separate into small groups to begin our small group activities. Students will use shape sorting trays full of 2D shapes. They can use these trays to work together to sort the shapes into colours, shapes and sizes. This activity will encourage cooperative and supporting learning amongst students and their peers. Once that activity is complete, students will be encouraged to work together in their small groups to find 3D objects within the classroom. Objects such as a tissue box for a cube, a ball for a sphere and a witch's hat for a cone. Once students have collected their objects, they will be encouraged to work together to sort and name the 3D shapes. Once both small activities are completed, students will be asked to return to their desks for the synthesising activity. This synthesising activity will be the accessible component of the lesson. Students will be given a worksheet to complete independently. This worksheet will be used to inform myself, the teacher, of the learning that has occurred throughout the lesson and will work to inform me of whether or not my learning outcomes were achieved and will also inform my future teaching. Here are some images of the shape sorting boxes used in the first small group activity and some objects which may be found within the learning environment such as balls, boxes, witches' hats, party hats, candles, cans and Christmas baubles which could be used for the second small group activity. This is an example of the worksheet used in the synthesising component of the lesson. It asks students to look at the 3D shapes in the pictures and use a red pen to circle the cubes, a green pen to circle the spheres, a blue pen to circle the cones and a yellow pen to circle the cylinders. Whilst this is quite a basic worksheet, if students do not have a solid understanding of their shapes and are not able to recognise them, this lack of understanding will be obvious for myself as the teacher and will help to inform my future teaching decisions. Learner equity is paramount in classrooms. Within Australian schools, Indigenous students remain to be the most educationally disadvantaged group within mathematics, with delays of up to 2 years behind that of their non-Indigenous peers. PERSO suggests that teachers need to be aware of Aboriginal people and their culture, the mathematical understanding of Aboriginal students, and explicit mathematics teaching when educating Aboriginal students. For equitable learning to occur, teachers need to be mindful of the abilities of each of their students and provide support and scaffolding accordingly. This can be done in the form of one-on-one work between teacher and students, or even peer-to-peer support. Instructions need to be explicit and concise, with regular questioning of students for understanding. Every student has the right to a fair and equitable education, regardless of their ability. So that was my presentation on how to use manipulatives productively and equitably when teaching geometry and measurement. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.